Hello everybody, what's going on? Welcome back to the next game review, and this is a review that for the past couple of months I have been very excited to do, especially knowing that, well, since the sequel, SENUA'S Saga HELLBLADE 2 is coming out literally in a few days, I figured it was the perfect time to talk about HELLBLADE SENUA'S Sacrifice. This is a game that came out back in 2017. It was developed and published by Ninja Theory, the same people who brought us games like, for example, the DMC reboot, which, hey, I defend as a massive fan of Devil May Cry, but not to mention it as well, they had also made, I believe, Heavenly Sword and a very underrated gem called Enslaved Odysseys of the West. Seriously, for those of you who have not played Enslaved, please give it a shot. It's a really, really good game. But anyways, HELLBLADE SENUA'S Sacrifice is a game that I remember when it first came out, I was just thinking like, oh my god, because just from the visual standpoint alone, I was really curious about this game. And I can't remember when the game was officially announced originally, but I remember when the game first came out, I was seriously just blown away. And I remember, I think my first playthrough was on PC back in, I want to say like 2018, maybe like a year after it came out, and it was a game that blew me away, minus some nitpicks and I guess one big issue I had with the game, but otherwise, SENUA'S Sacrifice was a game that absolutely blew me away, and playing it on PC was just such an absolutely incredible experience, and I'll never forget how I felt by the end of that game. And also, in case if you guys didn't know this already, SENUA'S Saga, you know, HELLBLADE 2, is my most anticipated game of this year. So as y'all can imagine, I jumped back into SENUA'S Sacrifice, and I figured, you know what, I'm going to give you guys a review for HELLBLADE SENUA'S Sacrifice. Now, really quick, before I continue on, just in case if you guys are wondering, all the footage was captured on an Xbox Series X, and sure, while I could have definitely captured the footage on PC, I wanted to do the console experience for HELLBLADE SENUA'S Sacrifice, although I'll probably play the game, the sequel, both on PC and console. But from what you're seeing in the gameplay footage, this is all captured on Xbox Series X on resolution mode. Before I continue on with my review, welcome to my channel, everybody. For those of you who are coming to my channel for the very first time, make sure to hit that subscribe button so that way you do not miss a future video, whether it's another review or reaction. Hit the subscribe button, and for those of you who are coming back to my channel, welcome back, and I'm so happy to see your faces once again. Getting into the plot, in HELLBLADE SENUA'S Sacrifice, we follow, as y'all can imagine, Senua, a warrior who must make a journey into Helheim in order to resurrect her dead lover. But as y'all can imagine, the journey to resurrect her lover not only is going to have a lot of challenges, but she must also face otherworldly entities while also dealing with the furries, the voices in her head on this journey to resurrect her dead lover. HELLBLADE SENUA'S Sacrifice is a game that when I first played it back in 2018, it was a game that blew me away. And now, playing this game again about 7 years later, I gotta tell you all, this is a game that, at least for me, still retains its impact. So guys, let's get into why I believe HELLBLADE SENUA'S Sacrifice is one of the most impactful games ever, but also such an incredible piece of art. Going on to the first thing that I must praise, and this is the most obvious thing to praise about this game, and that is the graphics and the art direction. HELLBLADE SENUA'S Sacrifice, to this day, 7 years later, is a game that only looks great, but it's just a game that you just still got going. Like, for a game that was made as a quote-unquote independent AAA title, this is a game that just looks absolutely incredible, and it's mind-blowing knowing that, if I'm not mistaken, about 20 to 30 people worked on this game. For a team that size to have made and built a world that looked this beautiful on, from what I recall, such a small budget for an independent AAA game. This is a game that to this day looks absolutely amazing. And the best part about the art direction is that it is all based on a very dark take on Norse mythology. So yes, you're going into a world that is very inspired by Norse mythology and Celtic culture as well. Walking around in this world, as you're hearing the stories and as you're seeing all these buildings within the world of Norse mythology, it still had me going like, holy shit. I cannot believe this game is this old and it still holds up very, very well. There are so many moments in this game and my most recent playthrough, which I'm not even kidding with you all. I went to photo mode just to take a bunch of shots and I was still blown away by just how great this game looks. And by the way, once again, the footage that you're all seeing is captured on resolution mode. And resolution is essentially dynamic 4K with 60 frames per second, and this looks absolutely stunning. Now, do not get me wrong when I say this, guys. Enriched visuals is mind-blowingly amazing to look at, but really, resolution mode, if you ask me, is all that you need. There are just so many parts where they're going into the realm of Surt, or even, oh my god, what's the other guy's name? He's the one who does all the illusions. That world is great. When you first see Hela for the first time, doing some of the puzzles, or even going through the corpses, all of that still to this day looks absolutely incredible. And even more so, we're going into the world at first, going to the boat, seeing how this world is all set up. It just looks absolutely incredible. One of the things that I absolutely loved about this game, and this could be taken either way really, because here's the thing, guys. One of the things that you do in this game is walking around. There's no other way to put it, because here's the thing. If you strip this game down to its basics, minus a couple of other mechanics, SENUA'S SACRIFICE really is a walking simulator. It is a glorified walking simulator, but in my personal opinion, it is a game that, with all the elements stitched around the walking elements, what you have here is just a beautiful, dark, grimy game where you're hearing voices in your head, to which I'm going to get into that momentarily, but still, the walking simulator bits, while they can come off, at least in my personal opinion, I don't know the majority of the world out there, but this is how I could possibly take it for somebody who has not really played games like this. But when you look at not only the world building, but also the storytelling and the sound design of how this game uses 3D spatial audio with the psychosis elements, what you have here is a game that is not only beautiful to look around in, but a game that has great storytelling, and on top of that, with the psychosis element, with the spatial 3D audio, the way how these elements are stitched around the walking bits of this game, I thought was absolutely genius. But honest to God, you guys, this is a game that I think I've beaten now. I believe this is my third time beating HELLBLADE: SENUA'S SACRIFICE, and it's a game that, even though sure, a lot of parts of this game you're just walking or jogging around, exploring the world of Norse mythology that is seeing around you, it is a game that to this day, I do not mind just exploring the beautiful world that Ninja Theory had created for gamers. The next thing that I must talk about, and I mentioned this earlier, and that is the sound. Well, this kind of goes into two things, but bear with me, guys. The overall sound design of SENUA'S SACRIFICE is still incredible, and this is what I need to mention, that you need to have a great or even a good pair of headphones, and I recommend you have over-the-ear headphones like HyperX headphones, or just a good pair of studio monitor headphones. I use HyperX headphones, and those are great over-the-ear headphones, and what you get as a result of having either studio monitor headphones or just a good pair of headphones in general that are capable of like that 3D spatial audio, what you have here is not only a game that has the most incredible sound design, again, for an independent AAA title, but not to mention it as well, how this game uses psychosis and how it explores psychosis. This is a game in which how it uses psychosis, I thought, was one of this game's biggest strengths. Just to give you guys a couple of examples of how psychosis is used. Let's just say, for example, that you're doing a puzzle. These voices, what they'll do is speak to you in a way in which they're either going to try and mess you up, they'll try and second guess yourself, or one of the best element is that, especially in Cert's region, when you're about to do that sacrifice, when you're trying to run away from not getting burned, they'll keep constantly telling you you're going the wrong direction or you're just going the wrong way, period. And how these voices try and doubt yourself as you're doing certain challenges or certain things when you're doing either the puzzles or the challenges, I thought was genius. But something that the voices will do, and I absolutely love this, is that during combat, they will always tell you to get up, dodge or block or look behind you, and it really makes for not only suspenseful gameplay, but gameplay that I think is very, very impactful. One of the game's biggest strengths as well is the terrific storytelling. This is a game in which not only is this game inspired by Norse mythology, but the central story of Senua trying to reach Helheim to resurrect her dead lover. The storytelling in this game, I personally think, is one of the most impactful stories in the game that I have heard, at least in the past 10 years. It is a game that, especially in which how it explores not only psychosis, but mental health, I thought was not only so strongly done, so beautifully done. By the time this game ends, my jaw dropped, and still to this day, as soon as it ended on my end, I just thought, holy crap. My favorite bit about the story is that it really does leave off with a beautiful, and I mean that beautiful message that every time I play it, I still get teary-eyed. It's a game that, sure, while it does drag you through dark and grimy bits, and sometimes really depressing bits, it all leaves you in the end feeling really, really hopeful. It makes you think, you know what, I can do this. All this is complemented by the beautiful performances. I mean, the performances in this game are absolutely astonishing, especially by Melina Jurgens, in which I do apologize for butchering your name, but her performance as Senua, I thought was just absolutely beautiful, and the way how she's able to perform with the psychosis elements, I thought it's just absolutely genius work on her end. One of my favorite elements of this game is Druth's storytelling, who is portrayed by Nicholas Bolton, which again, I do apologize if I butchered your name. One more thing that I must talk about, and I have to say this is available anywhere to own, and that is the musical score. The score for this game, to say the least, is just absolutely beautiful. David Garcia and Andy LaPlugua, again, I'm butchering so many names right now, but the score of this game, especially when you're into those heavy fights or the most particular parts of the game, the way how the score builds and how it uses Viking music and just Celtic music and Norse music, just wow. There has been the game where, let's just say, it makes you feel like an absolute badass. Yeah, it's that fucking good, guys. Ah! God damn it! When it comes down to my issues with this game, there's only two issues that I have with them. One of them is kind of a nitpicky thing, and the other one is a bigger issue with the game. The nitpicky issue for me is the combat sometimes. After a while, really, can be quite repetitive. I mean, at first, the combat is so much fun, and it is very satisfying. Although the boss battles, no matter what, are so good, and the endings to every boss battle are so damn satisfying. But when it comes down to like the more normal fights, where you're just dodging, evading, blocking, parrying, doing your hits, after all, the combat can be a smidge repetitive. I still enjoyed the combat, but you can't help notice that besides the boss fights, the combat does get a tad bit repetitive. When it comes to my biggest issue with the game, it's the visual puzzles. There are certain bits into which, before you can go into a certain area, you do have to solve these visual puzzles where you find these shapes and you have to find this shape again in the environment. There are some bits of these visual puzzles that are really, really cool. I mean, there are some bits that have those aha moments and you go like, nice, I got that. That was really, really cool. And there are more than a few times where it is really, really well implemented. But then there are other times into where, for no reason at all, it gets very frustrating, even though you know you're looking at just the right spot. You're saying, like, what the hell is going on? Then you go back to that spot to focus, and you get the solve. You get the solution, and it just made no sense. And then there are other bits in which you just think, really because of where it's put. Like, for example, there is one shape in search domain, and I was trying to find one shape, and it was just literally in such a place where I was just like, come on, guys, you gotta be kidding. There are more than a few attempts in which it not only got frustrating when I know I had the right placement, but also just the placement of some of the shapes were just kind of stupid and had those really moments. So overall, HELLBLADE: SENUA'S SACRIFIce is a terrific game and still to this day an impactful piece of art. It has its issues and its nitpicks, absolutely. But aside from all that, what you still have here is a game that not only is beautiful and gorgeous to look at, it has incredible sound design, how the game not only explores psychosis but mental health, the storytelling overall, the musical score, and by the end, leaving with a beautiful message. HELLBLADE: SENUA'S SACRIFIce is a game that I think is a gorgeous game and is really such an impactful game that I recommend all of you to play. All in all, I'm going to give HELLBLADE: SENUA'S SACRIFIce an 8 out of 10. And I cannot wait to see where this journey goes into Senua's Saga. I hope you all enjoyed my review of HELLBLADE: SENUA'S SACRIFIce. If so, please hit that like button, or if you dislike the video, hit the dislike button. If you guys want to see my previous 2 videos, please click to the left or right side of the screen. And of course, until my next review video goes live, I will see you all next time.